game's been taken out and everything, but like the shrink wrap's still on the box as long as you open it just right.
Yeah, I went ahead and started. Yours still shrink wrap, right? I don't have that picture no more. Honestly, I'm not even gonna throw it up there, but
I can say yes, it's completely sealed. Like
yeah,
the ones I got the Strider is completely sealed.
yeah.
Because that's I was
Do you
trying to remember.
do you still feel like you want to send it in to have it graded?
If there wasn't such a I thought about it several times, honestly, just because I think you could. I think the standard price was like $50. And it's like if you don't care when it comes back, and it's like I thought about it like a long time ago, but then once the backlog, they'll be like, oh, you might not see it for like 6 months, and it's like
6 months?
yeah, it's something like that. Like it's like I think you can do a quick turnaround where it's like, oh, we'll get it back to you in like 4 weeks, but that's like you might pay a couple $100. But if you're sitting on sealed Super Mario Brothers, it's worth $2 billion. Like that's nothing, man. You got to get out there before the other 5 million of them show up online.
So to pull that back a little bit for people who don't know what the hell we're talking about, there's like a huge down like increase. It's a bubble of sealed in cart video games. The old, well, they're not even old. Like one of them I saw, what was it on that video was like a Tomb Raider for Sega Saturn. What did
Oh
they
yeah,
want?
dude. There's like people getting like PlayStation 2 stuff graded. There's probably even like sealed PlayStation. I mean, I guarantee you somebody's got some Wii U sealed graded stuff floating around, like just on
Well,
Wii U.
well, something like Devil's Third, I know would be rare, and so, but I mean, it's so stupid. Anyway, we found out recently that this is actually a scam, and we'll get more into it. But I got a video to recommend to people, and it's on YouTube, and it's by Carl Jobst, Karl Jobst, Gobst, and it says scam alert. And dude, that video was freaking great. I love that dude. He's awesome, man. Um, what are you doing, Brian? But it was a group of people who got together, or was it just mainly? It was definitely a group of people, right?
Yeah, it was definitely a group. I mean, it's like this goes all the way back to when they started showing up on Pawn Stars.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, I guess it goes probably further back, but I don't know how much of it
I remember the first time something popped up on Pawn Stars. I never seen the episode, but I heard about it.
I
And
saw
people
it on
like,
YouTube.
this is a joke.
Yeah, and it was like they were like, oh man, and the guy that was like verifying it, how they're like, I happen to have a friend that can verify this. It was the dude in charge of like water grading, so of course he's going to be like, oh yeah, this thing's worth like $10 million. He's going to say something. He's not going to be like, yeah, we graded it, it's worth like $100, and the guy's asking $1 million. He's going to come in there and be like, oh yeah, it's worth every bit of that, because they're all in freaking collusion with each other.
Yeah.
And it's like we talked about, like I'd mentioned one time before when this first started popping up. I'm like, money is probably not even changing hands, because it's one thing to be like, oh, I've got a sealed game and it shows up on Heritage Auctions. It'd be like it's like fluff bidding. You could be like anybody could say like, oh yeah, somebody bought that, and it'd just be like it'd be like me saying I'm going to sell you my sealed Strider. I'm going to sell it to you. I'm going to sell it to you for $1 million, and it'd be like. And we just say we did that. And I could even hand you the game and be like, here's the game. Yeah, he gave me $1 million for it. And be like, and then it's like, all of a sudden, does that mean all of those games are worth like $1 million? You know what I'm saying?
A lot of people think that. And then, of course, when somebody goes to eBay, they don't go by the sold, the actual sale. They look at the first thing where some idiot has it like ridiculously overpriced.
And it's been on there for like 2 years.
Man, this is going to be worth some money.
And even the thing is, though, even if it's like you got to, and if anybody's listening to this, if you're looking for prices, make sure you check completed, because it don't mean jack squat if some guy's got something on there. There's always going to, like, let's just say you want Contra. There's always going to be some Joe Blow on there that has Contra for like $70 or $80 when it's really like a $30-something game. And if you go to the completed, you'll see a bunch of them sold for like $30. And there'll always be some guy on there that has one. It's like it's been on there forever. That's asking a ridiculous price.
Yeah.
But even on completed, it doesn't show which ones are actually paid for. I mean, I could go on there and like have 2 counts and just say, yes.
That would be, yeah, I see.
You wouldn't even have to, you wouldn't be able to prove that money changed hands. You could just see that there was a completed auction for like, Contra for $100. And you'd be like, why did Contra Loose go for $100?
I'm not going to name names, but there was some shit going on at work back in the day. With guys like, man, we're gonna get in this eBay thing, and so several guys and they had eBay, accounts and would bid the shit up, and then they would get it. There's a pretty extensive Chinese black market shit in Atlanta for fake Chinese crap,
Oh
Gucci's
yes.
and stuff.
Yep.
They were selling lots of fake jerseys and Gucci
Fake Nikes.
crap, the glasses and shit like that. Just Chinese crap, and they would try to sell it. They would still make it well below what the actual price was, because then people want that shit like right the fuck then.
Yeah.
And then of course he would say, he's like, sometimes they come like and ask me if this is authentic.
It's real. It's real. If you're
It's
looking,
real
you
Chinese,
can touch it.
man.
No, man, you can look. It's a real object. You can hold it in your hand. You can feel it. That's kind of like on I don't know how it is now on eBay, but like for a while, like Smash Brothers, not Melee, but just Smash Brothers on N64, the OG original. Like that was about a $40 or $50 game. I'm sure it's much higher now. But they would be selling the knockoff like AliExpress ones, and they would be going for almost the same price. It'd be like $35 for a knockoff AliExpress one, and it's like the real cartridge would be like 45, $50. And it was so crazy. This like I know that on AliExpress is like $10 or $15. And they're dirt cheap.
That's the original Smash.
Yeah, like the N64 version.
I would think that well, I don't know if they would have an AliExpress version for the for Melee, but I would think that people would just be desperate
Cartridge
to get a hold.
versions, they'll have AliExpress version
Yeah.
because disc was always a little bit harder
Yeah.
to you couldn't just throw that, but like Super Nintendo games, 64 games. I mean, it's like even the EverDrives. There's always like a knockoff version of them. But yeah, it's like it blow my mind because you'd be like, I know that's an AliExpress. It even says like shipped from China. Like it doesn't even say anything about it being authentic. That's why people started having to take their cartridges apart whenever even DS games, like people selling Soul Silver and stuff, they will like pop open the DS cartridge, which is basically glued together. It's like pressed together. Yeah. So you basically got to break the cartridge to prove that it's real, and then you snap it back together and put a little glue on it or whatever, which is like it's ridiculous.
What game was that?
Soul Silver, Pokemon. You remember they had.
Oh, okay.
It was silver and gold back in the day, and on the DS, you remember they re-released them. They like updated them, and they called it Soul Silver. So it was like a remake of Silver. I think they're doing a new remake for one of them now. They do them every once in a while. But that game, let's see what it is on eBay right now. I sold mine a while back because I couldn't really get into it. I didn't have as much time to. Nowadays, I don't have time to dedicate it to it. And I had a complete copy, and I sold it. And I think I was like, oh man, this thing's going for $100. I'll throw it on eBay. Now I think it's going for a complete copy. I think it's multiple hundreds. It's no longer like just $100 game. I think now the cartridge itself in like terrible conditions, $100.
So was it a DS? You think they'd be 5,000 million copies?
You would think.
They just did one set.
I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's got Pokemon on it and people are nuts. I mean, honestly, that's really what it comes down to. But it was like Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Yeah.
Well, stuff like the I don't even remember where I got it now, but there was like there was GameCube games of like the Zelda, like, and then it was like Ocarina of Time that came with a special second quest.
The master ones.
And I believe I had to do something to get that. It was like not easy to get. I'm like, that kind of shit would be rare, you would think.
Yeah, and those, I don't know what they're going for now, but those were like before GameCube went crazy, like price wise. Those were always kind of like you had to get them from Nintendo because I ended up with 2 copies of it. There was something you had to do.
I don't remember, but I did it. I got whatever it was.
I did too, and I remember like mine never showed up, and I remember this was like
that sucks.
Well, here was the thing. That's how I ended up with 2 of them. Because I remember, like, I would go on Game FAQs, and everybody would be like, hey, I haven't got my copy in. And they were like, I called Nintendo, and they, like, shipped me a new copy. And I was like, well, maybe I should, because it was supposed to come in within so many weeks, and everybody started getting theirs in, and mine never showed up. So I was like, well, I'm just going to call and see if they'll send me one. And they sent me one, and then, like, 2 or 3 days later, another one came in the mail. I ended up with, like, 2 copies of it. And of course, it's like I'm not calling them. I'm not sending one back, because like, why would you take more time and trouble, especially?
Yeah, especially
It's like, what am I going to do? If I
did they refund you and you got it for free, or
I got it. I think you got it for free for getting like Nintendo. Was it Nintendo Power? If you got it for a year,
I
you got
don't
it for
know.
free.
And I'm too lazy to look this shit up too.
Yeah, I'm way too late. There was
I
some
know it
reason.
was. Yeah, it was rare. I remember it being rare, and I didn't like it because the GameCube controller didn't feel right.
Well,
honestly.
almost every one of those Ocarina of Times were always emulated, and they never felt the same as they. Like, you remember when you'd hit the button to bring up the menus, it always sounded weird, and it always was like in slow motion. Like, whereas on the original it wasn't that way, but even like on the other versions, because I remember playing it and being like, it felt weird. There was something like you could tell something was off about it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's just because it was emulated.
But probably had, knowing Nintendo, it fucking probably had a big ass bunch of delay. And
it was really because I remember like when you would swap to the sides, like when you hit the L and R to rotate the menu, it like there was like a massive delay in it. It was really wonky.
Yeah, but it has Zelda on it. Back in the day, that was still pristine.
There was two of those. There was the one we're talking about, and then there was another one that I think if you got the collector's edition of Wind Waker, it came with another one that had like it was like, or maybe it was an anniversary edition where it had like I think it had like Zelda 1, Zelda 2.
Yeah.
It was something like that, but it was similar. But man, it's got Zelda, man. It's got to sell,
Yeah, of course, what was it? God damn it, what's the one with the village people when they go around and you gotta pay I'm losing my brain these days, but Animal Crossing
yes.
had that built-in emulator, remember? So they had that emulator easy to go. But there was a lot of rare things like that, and one of the things I'm thinking about these days, I'm sure limited run games, right?
Oh yeah.
That will make limited amounts of copies of indie shit, and so this is the only way to get the physical copy of these games. And so when you're later on down the line trying to complete your PS4, goddamn, that sounds just ridiculous. Trying to go for the complete PS4 collection sounds insane. You're going to have to get all of that indie limited run shit, which is usually, I hear it's gobbled up by damn scalpers and shit immediately.
Oh yeah, because they know it's limited run.
Yeah, they're waiting. They're waiting. Just sit on this fucking shit for 20 years, and then it's going to be worth $5,000. People are going to go nuts for it.
The problem is, yes, you just have to wait for that age group to come around, and that's kind of like Nintendo. Nintendo has started like old NES. Some of that stuff has started kind of backing off on price a little bit, even though we're in like a weird. There was a bubble pre-COVID, and it's almost like COVID put a bubble on top of that bubble. So it's like you almost got like two bubbles. It's like, when's the COVID bubble going to pop, and then when's the regular bubble going to pop? Because everything went up astronomically for some reason during COVID. I guess people were like, they were playing at home. Maybe they had like stimulus money, and it's like, oh, this is free money. I'm getting it. If you're at work and you get a stimulus check, it's free money. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like it's not like you needed it to survive or whatever.
I definitely bought toys with it.
Most people did. I mean, I remember like when the first set of checks went out or whatever, I remember I was buying something at Best Buy, and I swear to God, everybody in there was buying massive TVs. Like there was some dude that had like two like 75-inch TVs on a thing riding around. It's like, yeah, I think I know what's going on here.
Well, I mean, if you don't give a shit about the quality of your TV, you can get one of those ginormous TVs these days at a reasonable price. They'll look like shitballs, but you'll have one. You'll have a giant TV, and if you're in somehow, you can sit in a stadium and put it far away, and it probably looks good.
It's like all the way across the den. It's like, and all you're watching is like, regular stuff, sports or whatever. It's like, it's good enough.
I mean, one way to think about it is like, you didn't have movies. You ain't supposed to leave. You're supposed to stay at the house. I put in 400 fucking hours of Monster Hunter, dude. I played retarded amounts.
It was just something to do,
Yeah,
it's like, it was. That's why Animal Crossing, I think, sold so well for the Switch, because it came out about that time.
On that one, that was going to sell good no matter what, because when was the last Animal Crossing? I'm trying to think of it. I think they were all on DS. So when you get your first one, it's back on the big boy system, because that shit wasn't on Wii U, was it? I don't even think it was on Wii. I'm not.
I don't remember there being one on Wii, but
I think they were on Game Boy for a while. Yeah. And so you brought the first big one to the alleged Big Daddy system. Like freaking Switch is a damn portable is what that shit is. Yeah. But I think it was going to do great no matter what. But it went nuts. stuff like Resident Evil 3 should have done. That was at the perfect time.
Yeah.
That happened. Resident Evil 3 just happened to suck. I'm talking about the remake. But you're sitting there. You can't go to movie. You can't go to movies or whatever. And I would think so. I would think that streaming went high. Amazon went through the fucking roof. And I'm a stock owner, and it was like, I think it started the year 2020, $1,900, and it was 3,000 when it gone, and it's like almost 3,500 now. It's fucking ridiculous. But freaking Amazon went all up. But if you're sitting there and you're playing, you're like, you know what? What if I don't want to play these Fortnite games? I'm sitting there. I've got unlimited bouts of time, bored out of my damn mind. I want to go through and play some of that shit I used to play, and I could see people just collecting all of that shit just to play it. Not even just to collect, just to play it.
Yeah, just to have it.
Yeah. And but this is also when those guys started doing that. What I can't remember the damn name of the shit. The water damn things.
Yeah.
But the auction people and the freaking grading people were working together, and they fluffed the price up. And by fluffing the price up on the big items like that, I would think all the little items would also.
Because like it's like, oh shit, Mario 64 went for like $1.5 million sealed. Not to mention the fact that there's still boxes of those things laying around, like shipping boxes.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably never seen these in gaming stores, but like probably about 10 years ago, you could still go in gaming stores and buy sealed copies of F-Zero. That's how many of them were floating around. I remember literally going in, and they would be like, you could buy a whole freaking packing box of them. They had like 6 cartridges in it for like $60.
Yeah, I bet you F-Zero probably got a reprint late in the Super Nintendo life, and then
I think that's what they were everywhere. I mean, it's like the fact that I don't have a sealed copy of freaking F-Zero is like shocking, because I used to literally see it all the time. I would walk into like we had a play and trade open up. And I remember you'd go in there and they'd have just like a stack of them sealed sitting on the shelf for like $10 a piece. I mean, it was just like they're everywhere. And that's the same thing with Mario 64. It's like, in the Mario 64, the one that sold, I don't remember if it was a first print or whatever. But even if it was, that game's not that old. Like, I mean, it's old, I guess, depending on how old you are. But like, this ain't even Super Nintendo. This is like,
yeah.
What was it? 1996 it came out?
It came out in 96.
Yeah. So, and there's still shipping cases, because that's when people started like holding on to those things.
They were already collecting that shit.
Yep.
Because remember, the damn Star Wars toys were coming out. I forgot what it fucking called, the 96 ones, but we're getting them. We're like, we need to save packages of these shits. And I saved them. And then I checked like maybe.
Was that Powers of the Force line or whatever? One of those.
Yeah.
It was like, that's when they started coming back out with them. Kenner might have had that at the time, I think.
It was the Kenner brand, so people wanted the Kenner brand. They didn't want the stupid Chinese shit.
It was the Kenner brand started, because remember, they were real muscular. Like Luke Skywalker was real buff, and then I think Hasbro took it over like about Phantom Menace at the time. By Phantom Menace, they started. Hasbro had taken them back over.
Yeah, and they got small again. Although those muscular guys would fit in the old shit. They're just it'd be rough.
They were like really broad shouldered. Like they look like freaking Simon Belmont from like Captain N.
It's like Master. when you put Chewbacca and Han Solo and the Millennium Falcon together, it'd be like sitting with Big Jerry in a goddamn love chair. It's like I'm getting squished, bro.
It's like their shoulders would be rubbing against each other. But I remember that. It's like people were just like, they'd buy the boxes of them. Like they'd be like, I remember like seeing people at KB Toys, like, because KB Toys was notorious for that shit, like having like old stock laying around, and they would buy like the whole box that hadn't even been opened yet, and just
and so now you know what they're worth. What the fuck the damn Kmart price tag or the Toys R Us price tag? That's what they were. So I just ended up giving them to my friend. Here you go. He has a son. I was like, he was about 10 years old at the time. I was like, yo, and he might like this shit. But just get rid of all of them. I didn't have that much. I had a couple of things. I had micro machines. There was like some silver and gold ones. But when everybody collects that shit, then it means, and they put it on their wall and display it in their room, that means there's a ton of them. There's a ton. And so and all those limited run games that the scalpers got, those fuckers ain't none of them shits open.
No, they're all sealed.
I thought I did open up my Bloodstained. I had a Kickstarter Bloodstained, so I'm like, is this gonna be rare? I got on Xbox, which of course was a fuck up, but then I seen it at fucking GameStop. I'm like, all right, y'all fuck this shit. So I don't give a shit up. I just want to play the shit. I just want to play it. And it wasn't even the best version. It ended up crashing like 10 damn times. So I had when I get a PC, no crash is freaking way better. I'm like, that's one of the reasons one of the final draws. I'm like, I'm not playing Xbox again, man.
I heard the Switch version was terrible. I bought it and I've yet to play it. And supposedly they patched it, but it was supposed to be like the worst version.
That's what Russell's got. I'm like, man, I'm just like, you're living a sad life, man. Can get the Switch version of everything. I ran through this Gaia 6, and it was graphically it was misery, man. It looked like shit and ran like ass. But yeah, so I'm questioning my Switch purchase because even the little indie games, whatever, they just they run like butt, and so that's the hot selling shit. So I would still think the collector's items would be physical damn Switch copies right now. It's going to be. In Japan, this is just an aside. Like the last month, it was a slow month. All 30 of the top selling games were all Switch games. Sony didn't have anything. But that tells you how
they ain't got nothing out.
They don't have anything that the Japanese want to play. They don't want to play like the slower Western story games that they put out. I think the number one selling thing was Minecraft. So some of that shit definitely translated over, but a lot of times they like to play their own shit. But so these Wada dudes just kept freaking buying their own shit, fluffing their own price, and then we was watching the Carl Jobs video or whatever, and they would sit there and didn't they rate that Tomb Raider that had a cut on it like a 9.8 or something?
I think so.
That'd be the only reason it would be worth money. Would have to be the 9.8. They won't.
Yeah, it would have to be like comic books where like a 9.8 and a 9.7, the difference in price could be like hundreds or thousands, depending on the comic book,
All the powers in the greater that if you do it like that.
Yeah, well, it's like the problem is how many of those copies are because they don't do population reports.
Yeah.
So it's not. Yeah, because it would destroy them because it's one of those things. If you got sealed Mario 64 and it's like a 9.8 and they're just like, oh man, this thing's worth money. It's 9.8, whatever. But then you look at a population report, they're like, yeah, we've graded like 100,000 of these things. Guess what? It's immediately worth nothing. But if they've graded it and it's like, this is the only 9.8 in the history of existence of like, let's just say they've graded 1,000 of them. It might be worth something. It still ain't gonna be worth that much. I mean, who's buying that? I mean,
as you saw, it was investors buying collector. They were buying what was it like stock pieces of one? Like, oh, you can have 0.27% of a copy that's going to be freaking fluffed up. Some guy's going to make a killing off of it, and you bought in to make it work even more money.
It's the goddamn pyramid thing. The people on the top will freaking make some money, but everybody else is going to be left. I own like 0.25% of a NWC card. It's like, maybe if I sit on it for a while, my percentage will go up a few dollars. But I mean, it's just what they used to call it, voodoo economics back in the day.
Economics.
Wasn't that one of Bush's things?
That's the
voodoo
shit
economics.
that Dalzine does. He does that voodoo economics. He shoots the yoga flames out.
Voodoo economics, man. I remember that was a George Bushism from like 1992. But I mean, it's crazy because that's all it is, and it's one of those things. The people that would really be like really collectors hunting for this stuff, like they're not going to pay that kind of money. I mean, why would you for collecting? You could find it cheaper. You could have found that game cheaper like a year ago. And I don't mean like instead of 1.5, it was 1 million. It would have been like this game's like $600. I mean, the idea that it shot up that much was just insane, know, for something I mean, it's Mario 64. We're not talking about NWC cars, something where there's only a handful in the world, or, like you really had to be in a competition dang near to get one or know somebody.
He's talking about Nintendo World Championships. I had to read that out in my mind. I was like, what the fuck's
the gray and gold cars. Like, if somebody was like one of those went for like $1 million, even I would be like, Well, that's crazy, but at least I could somewhat rationalize it because how many gold carts are out there? It's like less than 30, isn't it? Um,
I don't even think it's that many.
I
Now,
mean, it's like
have you ever seen a repo card of that, a
oh
reproduction card?
yeah,
I haven't. I've never seen one.
I've seen them at the flea market. I've seen repros of almost everything at the flea market. You know, um, it's of course they always look too good because the sticker, is just something they glued on there. It's a piece of crap. And then the gray carts are always like, you can always tell like something's up. And plus the plastic always feels weird. But most of the time it's like, oh yeah, most of the people I've seen that have them aren't trying to sell them as real ones anyway. They're just like, check out this repo. It's cool. Put on your shelf. One of those type deals.
I had a cool cart. I don't know if I told this story before, but you had Nintendo Power back in the day, and then I ended up for a long time I was the only one in class that had them. It ended up, they ended up like 4 or 5 of us had them, and they would come with these little trading cards that they were cardboard and you cut them out, and if you collected the right amount of cards, that they would say each month, like you need these 3 cards. Then they'll give you a game. And I was paying attention and then watching what people have, and they popped up, and I had the cards. I don't even remember what they were, but I sent the 3 cards off, and they sent me Contra 3, which was a freaking awesome get. And on the top of it said not for resale. So instead of having the label, it just said it was a white, and I think it had red letters that said not for resale. I've gotten rid of that a long time ago. I wonder if it's worth $75 zillion. And you have graded.
We have to find out because not for resale stuff always goes for good money. But yeah, I'm surprised they sent you. Was it through Nintendo Power or was it through something else?
Through Nintendo Power, and it was Contra 3 Alien Wars.
Yeah, and the only reason
that was a new release at the time. Yeah,
and the only reason I say that is because Contra is whatchamadigger. That you would have think they would have sent like a first party game, like a Super Mario, a Donkey Kong, something that they already had license to. So it's kind of weird that they were sending Contra 3 out. But yeah, a lot of times those things. Well, apparently you can buy one right now for $199. So you want one for your birthday.
Maybe that's my copy. Go back and get it, man. For one more. No, I don't. Me personally, I don't give
a crap.
I don't give a crap about the actual physical things. Now, it's a different story when we come to things like manuals or something like that. I love reading the manuals and looking.
Especially back in the day when they were like really cool. Especially like Final Fantasy or Zelda or whatchamadigger had the map. What was it? Star Tropics had the map.
Star Tropics had the map, and I think the manual was good too. Like the Final Fantasy manual, it takes you through half the game because they assume that you're an idiot.
Yeah, you're going to get lost.
Well, no, they just assumed that the Western people weren't good at RPGs. They straight up assumed that. That's one of the reasons why Final Fantasy Mystic Quest was made. I don't know if you know the story behind that.
Yeah.
They thought we're going to make this for dummy people in the West because they're not hardcore RPG players like us Japanese. Even though they fucking took. There's the games they were played, made shit off of, like Wizardry and shit, was made over here. But Final Fantasy Mystic Quest you can only do 2 people at a time, and then it was like super for dummies. That's one of the reasons why Mario RPG is pretty damn simple and easy too. But I'm sure that made tons and tons of people RPG fans because that game was a freaking great.
It was a good entry level if you were like not used to it.
Yeah.
And, talking about cartridges, though, it's like I just happened to look up Turok Rage Wars, the gray cart. I wish I'd have sat on mine for a while because apparently they're going for thousands of dollars.
Thousands of dollars.
I don't know if you remember that. It was.
Yeah. I've never seen a gray. I had the black.
I had a gray one that I picked up at a flea market for like near nothing because it was Rage Wars, and you would find the black copy of Rage Wars like everywhere. It wasn't that hard of a game to find, but one of them just sold for $1,800.
Now you think that's a Blockbuster one?
It's gray, and I don't. Was the gray ones Blockbuster, or were they the ones that just came out later on in the series?
It would definitely be a later print because.
Why would they have the? Yeah.
That was something that like Acclaim and like THQ were doing a lot at the time. They do the different color one.
Yeah. because I remember like there was the green cart for what was it like Army soldiers or whatever.
Yeah, who gives a
There was
shit?
one on was green. I just remember it always stuck out because you'd see it in the beginning. It's weird though. This one went for $1,800, and the previous ones all went for like 900, 999. Or you could just buy a standard black copy for $15, and it's the same exact game. But
And it is not worth that. I tell you that right there.
it's hard to go back and play those first person shooters on 64.
Now
They don't age well.
Now, that one has a hell of a lot better performance than Turok 2. But how they got to that performance was making it literally just fucking pretty much square rooms, no detail at all. That's what that shit was.
Not a lot of big areas.
I liked you made loadout though. You remember you would have a loadout, and you pretty much needed to just find you could decide your own loadout, and then you pretty much got ammo. So that was a cool game. But God dog, the damn single player stuff was boring as fucking.
Oh yeah, it's like it was made to be a multiplayer game.
Yeah.
It was kind of like all the wrestling games. The wrestling games were great, but like you wouldn't play it very long single player. Like it was a good 4-player game.
Yeah, once you got to the creator wrestler, that's what you spent your single player time on.
Yep.
Although I do like you could take like Stone Cold and go for the women's championship, and you would have the bra and panties down
matches.
They would have bra and panties matches, and then I think they even had like bra and panties like beauty contests. Or you would have your own character, but he's going through the Rock story, so he starts talking about himself in the third person for no reason. He's like, I get what you're doing. You're going through the Rock story, but that's not my character at all. It's freaking
especially when he has like a weird looking like colored hair mohawk or something crazy face. He's like, it's just like that was the same way with the ones on GameCube. It was like you'd see your character and be like, this guy looks ridiculous, because you'd make him. I don't know if you remember when I brought that GameCube version over that time where it had like you had
Donkey Kong come down on a 4-wheeler,
and that Donkey Kong looked pretty dang good too. It actually looked like Donkey Kong. People would, and this was before you could download to create a character, so you could cheat. You had to like go online, and there would be forums where people would be like, here's the formula, and you'd have to like put in all the measurements. But whoever did that Donkey Kong, it looked just like Donkey Kong. I mean, you could get all the proportions. So you'd have like some crazy looking proportion dude like sitting there trying to have a conversation. It'd just be hilarious.
Have you ever seen what's it called? Japanese All Pro Wrestling 2, the one that came out No Mercy. You ever seen that?
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
I've never seen it. I've seen YouTube videos, but I've never seen a copy of it. A lot of people online swear it's like the best one ever. Like that's like the best wrestling game.
If you have all the moves from No Mercy, and if you got rid of the slowdown in multiplayer, I think then probably, and then
because they probably figured out a way to like streamline it a little bit, just to kind of like, because you could tweak that engine. I guarantee you they figured out how to tweak that engine to make it get rid of a lot of that slowdown. But now those were perfect like multiplayer games. Like I remember like I would go home and play them after we'd play them at your place, and it was like never the same. Just. Even if you were playing against somebody you didn't even like, it was still fun,
Yeah, it was great. I just don't understand it. Well, I do understand the collecting thing. I just can't see putting that kind of money into it.
It was ridiculous before, but now this is like, and the question is now that this little documentary, and it's good, it's really entertaining, and it kind of proves exactly what like a lot of people were thinking. Because me and you had talked about it, I was like, these people ain't this is just straight up marketing.
Yeah, I thought at the time it was like this is some kind of money laundering, like art shit.
Yeah, it's like they're just trying to shuffle money around, and it's like, and then you see it, and it's like the question is, with people knowing that, how much does that change it? Does that mean like, will we see another Super Mario 64 9.8 go for like, I mean, even if it went for like, let's just say it went for like $700,000, basically half of what the last one went for, that's still ridiculous. I mean, that's just absurd.
Here's what's going to happen. First of all, IGN and Kotaku for just pushing these things up and not really questioning it, they're assholes. They're stupid.
Oh yeah, it should have been like they should have actually took into, because apparently this wasn't like, I mean, the guy that did the video, I forget his name, but he did great work. But it's like
Carl Jobs. This is.
it doesn't seem like he had to be freaking Sherlock Holmes to figure this out. Like it was fair. Like it was one of those that's like this is like yeah, I'm sure he did a lot of work on it, but I'm just saying it wasn't like this was like trying to figure out who Jack the Ripper was. So the idea that like he was the only one that could have done this.
Yeah, and of course it's blown up. It'll help him out. He deserves 1 million subs. He has like 600,000 or some shit. But But I've seen Beller News, which is like a news article thing coming out, and sooner or later there's other independent people like Young. Yeah, they'll look at it. They're in the retro crowd. They're in the current events crowd, and that's what IGN is too. They don't have it retro down, but that's a big market. That's what a lot of people are, and that's where that's where a lot of shit on YouTube is.
Oh, yeah.
But it's sad that they didn't even. They just took that shit at face value. It's like, is it really that great? It's like the fucking 9.8, the sheen, like freaking just so awesome. And just
you can see your face in it, man.
Yeah, it's just like a toga that's flowing in the wind. And it's like beautiful background music, and you get like a taste of grapes in your mouth. Yeah. That's how great when you see this shit.
It's like when you see this sitting on your shelf, it's like it's just it was like, and it all went up in price so fast of like absurdity. Like the Super Mario one wasn't even like a first printing of it. I think it was like it actually was sealed. It didn't have the little sticker seal. Like when they first came out with the black box games, it was like there was just a little sticker thing on them or whatever. Yeah. It's like that was it. It was cardboard. It's like why this one? I mean, I see that it's 9.8, but it's like why would it be that high?
Some asshole decided this is the one. He's helping his buddy out.
Yeah, exactly.
We're giving you the 9.8, man.
But I mean, I think
get some investors.
And that's all it is. But it's just like, and it kind of reminds me of these videos or articles you'd see pop up online every once in a while, where it's like you'd see them on the news. They'd come up. They'd be like, you could be sitting on a fortune with your old toys, and they'd be like, this He-Man and Battle Cat, complete goes for like $100,000, and it's like, no, not even close. Like it really, like if you're, I run into this all the time at the flea market. People will be like, they'll have a game and they'll be like, yeah, I know this gold Zelda cart's worth something. It's got to be worth at least $100. And it's like, no, it's gold, man. It's not even the rarest one. The freaking gray one's more rare than that. But it's like they see things on these, and then the articles are the same way. It's just a fluff piece. It's just like, check out these 10 toys that if you still have from your childhood, they're worth $1 million. And it's just like, no, it's full of shit.
Yeah.
But people see it. I've even had my mom be like that. She'd be like, hey, did you see that thing on the news where it's like, they say if you still got an old, like, such and such, it could be worth money. And I'm like, it's not worth that much. I promise you. I'd already sold it if it was. I mean, but I think what's going to happen with a lot of this stuff is it's going to be like the Spider-Man game. It's like, did you see the Heritage thing about the Spider-Man for Atari? The prices, how much they dropped. One of them sold for like, oh God, it was like ridiculous. It was like $900 or something like that. And then like the next week, the same thing could be bought, the same grade and everything was like $100. Like that's how it just dropped off like 90% of the price. And it's like, yeah, because everybody figured out this stuff ain't freaking as rare as they thought it was.
Well, like that video enlightened a lot of people. And people do watch him, and they're going to catch on to this shit. And of course, now that Pat, the NES Punk, and other people, he had what was that Metal Jesus guy?
Oh,
so they probably know. They might have been bitching the whole time. I don't.
No, Pat, the NES Punk, has been bitching the whole time. He freaking I don't know if you ever listen to his podcast. Yeah. I listen to it just because since I work outside, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to his almost every week, and he's been talking about it since that stuff first showed up on like Pawn Stars, where he's like, this game was bought by like, I think it was one of the first Super Marios that went for like $100,000. And he's like, yeah, like 3 or 4 investors bought this for $100,000. Like they all had a piece in it. And now they're trying to bump up that it's like they're looking for a return on it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it was like. And yeah, he's been preaching about it forever. Because it's like, if you're in that market and you know what things are going for, like you can tell, you could just smell the bullshit. But like to the average person, they would be like, "Oh, it is rare." It probably does, especially when it's on Pawn Stars. Surely the expert knows what he's talking about, right? So it's
sounds like shit. Is shit.
All I know is I'm selling all my sealed games, man. I'm just gonna throw them all on eBay right now since I got about 4 of them, man. I'm gonna sell my copy.
$7 zillion for Chessmaster.
I'm gonna throw Chessmaster on there sealed, and I'm just gonna let the bidding start. You know, just. I mean, it's just
give it a. You got 11.8, man. You're doing great. Graded your shelf.
Yep, I just graded my, and that's the thing is like I bet you're gonna start. I guarantee you that week after that Mario 64, I guarantee you, I bet you at least like 200 people sent theirs in to be graded right after that.
Yeah.
Because people had that stuff and it was sitting around. It's like they had it sealed. They're sending it in right after that. So this God knows how many he's gonna. I wonder how many's online. Let's look on eBay. Sealed Mario 64. Let's just see how many copies are out there because it's just such a common game. I mean, it's not like you're looking for sealed, something. Oh, look, you can get it for $5,800 right now.
Oh,
but that's
man,
all
I'm excited.
It's sealed with it's not graded though. So $6,000 only gets you like just a sealed.
Well, I mean, that means you could potentially turn it in to get graded to get $100 billion. All right.
Yeah, man. I mean, what if you took it? It's like, what if it came back 9.9?
9.8.1. Holy shit.
I mean, yeah, there's one on here right now. It's a 7.0 going for like $10,000. That's what they're asking. I mean, just the idea of like, what the fuck? I mean, that's insane. I mean, and the thing is like, it's like if you like even as if you're really into collecting, you're like, I really want this and I really got to have this. Like, you would have to start questioning things when you start getting up into that. I mean, that's like, here's one right here. 9.0 is going for $49,000. I mean, it's like, that's a really good car right there is what that is. That's like, a good chunk of a house. It's just insane. It's like, I really love Mario 64, man. It's like so cool. It's like, if you love it, you should play it. But it's just crazy. And that this bubble's going to collapse too, especially as like that group page is out. Look,
it's going to be straight up, straight down.
Oh yeah. I mean, like, look at things that like our parents' generation would have collected, and it's like, trying to think what would have been big back then.
Some of those weird toys, like the old die-cast metal shit toys.
And some of that stuff still holds value, but the market's gotten so small, it's insane. I mean, what's it going to be? It's like it's going to shrink up. It's kind of like Atari. Atari is like that market is like
Route 66 freaking damn signs, shit like that. That'll probably always. Yeah, they'll probably always be hot, honestly. But yeah. For us, it's fucking Mario 64 because some speedrunner runs it real good on YouTube. But if we played it, be like, you know what, this camera sucks, and quit.
It's hard to go back and play. It's hard to go back and play like games like Ocarina of Time. It's really hard to go back and play.
It's freaking about 15 to 20 frames a second, man. It's rough.
It's like going back and playing GoldenEye. I mean, it's a great game. It was great game for its time. But it's like you're not gonna just sit down and be like, start running through that shit and just not be like, wait a minute, things have changed,
I could play for 30 minutes and the factor would go away. And but it's still there's stuff in those later 3D Zelda games, and Angry Video Game Nerd did a pretty good video about this. Whenever you start talking about Zelda, you start making the Zelda tards pissed at you.
Oh yeah.
But the game does not appreciate your time. These games, people will wait for years and years and years, and then somewhere Nintendo's like, we got to get this game to be 30 or 40 hours.
We got to beat it up, man.
To do it, to master it, we're going to get, a freaking 100 hours to find every damn little thing. Then you get to a point where you got Breath of the Wild, where it's like, hundreds and hundreds of hours of like methodical doing nothing that you don't need to do. But
I think that one of the worst ones was or when it was very obvious in Wind Waker.
Yeah,
where
Wind
like
Waker.
that game should have been like half the length it was, and it wasn't even that long of a game. But
And it was
going out,
easy as fuck.
it was easy as hell. It did look pretty. I liked the way it looked, but you know, you got the Master Sword, and you had to do 2 quests to basically power it up, and then it's like, oh, you got to get every piece of the Triforce. Yeah, there's like 19 of them. Go find your map and go talk to this dude and pay him to decipher the map, and it was just busy work. You know, it was like there weren't any dungeons left after that. It was kind of just, you know.
Yeah, I ended up doing like 2 or 3 dungeons back to back very early with hardly nothing, and then I had to do all the Triforce shit and just at one go.
It was just busy work. That's what it came down to. I remember I was done with everything in the game except for getting the Triforce and finishing the game up, and it was just like, this is monotonous.
Yeah. But you know they don't play them. Just collect them sealed 9.8s. Okay, Watamote, you know, rated.
Yeah, and you could throw it on your heritage option. And then Wada got sold. I guess you saw that also, that they sold to that other company. It wasn't VGA, but it was another one of the ones that was always doing.
What I didn't know, which Carl Jobs says they bought Nintendo Age to shut it down, and I guess they did because I went looking for it, I couldn't find it. I found it at NintendoAge.net, but those were the guys. They would have like a forum, and then every year, like collectively as a forum, they'd have a checklist, and they would go through and beat all of the like 800 registered. So none of the crazy like Bible story shit or whatever, but they would do like the
official games.
Yeah, they have legit games, and so that's where I learned where a lot of the hard games were. And so the hardest game is supposed to be like NES Championship pool, World Championship pool, or some shit like that. Because it was based on a high score. It's like the way to beat it. It didn't have an ending, so the way they would decide the ending ones, like the Tetris didn't have an ending. So the way they decided is like, if you could beat this game if you beat the high score, and some of those things are really freaking easy because high score is just something some guy made in 2 seconds.
Yeah, it was a test run. It's like, this is the high score.
But whoever did World Championship pool or whatever, it's like the fucking high score's like brutal and hard. I don't know. I've only ever played pools like as many games as of other games, but apparently this is some badass shit.
It was like one of those. Some guy was like, "I'm going to make this so high that it'd be just ridiculous." Just edit in the number. You know, like in the old days of Minesweeper and Windows, you could put in there anytime you wanted if you like edited the INI file or whatever.
Yeah.
I beat hard mode in 2 seconds.
And then I think the other one I always hear about was Arkanoid without the controller. I've never even seen the controller, but apparently you really need the damn custom controller.
You need the custom controller. It's like, you know, it's kind of like trying to play. I mean, it is Breakout, but there's some of those games like, you know, just trying to play. It's like trying to go back and play like Lethal Enforcers without the gun, where you're just like moving the cursor around the screen. It's like one of those. You're never going to be fast enough. You really need the gun. I think T2 was like that too. Like you could use the controller, and like you would just like it's like you'd never be able to move it fast enough, and you couldn't adjust the speed either. So
what if we got Lethal Enforcers with the gun? Then couldn't you see the gun down the side, the blue gun? That was always at Walmart. Lethal Enforcers with the gun, 9.8 Watamote, $10 million.
I was about to say, do you need me to send you a picture of a box complete copy of Super Nintendo?
I don't want whatever the hell you got, all right?
I do have a box complete copy of Lethal Enforcers with the gun. Now, you want to know what's really hard to find is the second player gun, because they sold it separate. It was like pink. I didn't even
know that was a thing.
It is.
Pink?
It's pink. It's
like orange?
I think it's pink. I could be wrong, but it's either pink or orange or like an off red color. But it's the second player, and you had to buy it separate. You could not. The game came with like the blue one, but it was a different color, and they plugged into each other like not a headphone jack, but a telephone jack. That's what it would plug, and that was your second player.
Wouldn't it be easier to buy 2 blues? Would that hook up, or do you know?
I don't know if that actually worked. I really don't. I don't. It was so weird because, like, honestly, I think that's the only game that works on. There might be another game that it works on, but it does not work on the Super Scope 6 games. And I don't think Super Scope 6 works on Lethal Enforcers. which speaking of, I have a box complete version of that too. So I can send you a picture.
I don't want you damn super scope, sir.
Look, I did not start off being a box collector. The only reason I started, I just kept accidentally finding shit for good deals.
Yeah.
I think one of the first things I got box complete was a Nintendo Power set with the freaking power pad, the Nintendo to Zapper, and it was like freaking like $30. I mean, it was just like the Nintendo was worth $30.
Yeah.
I just kept coming across stuff. I've got the action set. I think I've got one of the plane sets. Yeah, it's just one of those like that's like the box games. I never went looking for them. I would just come across them and be like, "Hey, there's a box copy of Super Mario Kart," and it'd just be like, it's cool just to have. But then you become like, then you start looking for it. But I don't go eBaying for it. It's the hunt. You know me. It's always been the hunt. I enjoyed hunting for the games more than I enjoyed playing them half the time.
Yeah.
But now you got me wondering that second player gun. It was because I remember it was a different color. Second player light gun there's one for it's only $288, man.
No,
All right, let's get this. That. And here's the Justifier gun by itself. It's only $150. Yeah, it's like an orangish paint color. It's kind of like off, but yeah, I mean, it was one of those things you never see those things anymore because it's one of those like that game on Super Nintendo sucked anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if the arcade version wasn't that good. It was just something to play for like 5 seconds.
By the time that stuff out, I'm like 12, 13 years old, and I done caught on to your bullshit, your gimmicks. I know that shit games exist. And they stay far away.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't take, even as a kid, you'd be like, this game sucks. That's like, I remember I loved, I went to one arcade one time, and I remember it had the Spider-Man, the arcade game made by Sega, which you don't see anything. No, I don't think it's ever been ported to anything.
Yeah.
It was really fun. But also at the same arcade, they had Captain America and the Avengers. And both games had Hawkeye in them, but they were both beat 'em ups. But that Captain America and Avenger game sucked. I mean, it looked cool, but it really was a quarter eater. It just like half the stages were like shoot 'em up stages. It just wasn't near as good as that Spider-Man game. It'd be like, if I'm going to spend a quarter or two, it's like it's going to be on those. Look, for $200 we can get both the zappers. Yeah, the orange pinkish one it looks like a telephone jack, and it would daisy chain into the blue one.
The old Gravis game. Oh, my Gravis gamepad sealed in the box. Okay, comes with a VGA cable, $7,000 Watamode graded. All right.
You can do that, man. I'm telling you, Voodoo 3DFX cards, man. There's a market for it. Want them, man. It's like that. I got to build me a Windows 95 computer, and I got to have it. So like which actually no, you don't. But that's what people do.
Nope.
Dude, I can buy a Voodoo FX Voodoo 3 card, and it will cost me more than it would be if I bought a freaking 1050 Ti card. That should tell you a lot right there. Because it's 160, and I think we were just talking about earlier, they're like 150 or whatever. Or maybe they're 200. Either way, it's like, it's ridiculous. I bet the 5s really do go for a penny because they probably didn't make near as many of the 5s.
Burn your damn house down.
Yeah, no kidding. I think that was like one of the last ones they did was the 5. I don't think they ever made a 6, did they?
I mean, I don't believe so. And then I always ask where'd the fuck the 4 go,
No, yeah, you just skipped it. You went from 3 to 2. No, you went from 1.
You're gonna go back.
To 2, and then you had 2, and then you went to 3. There was no 4, man. It was like, by that point, it was like, fuck PCI. It's all AGP,
I was so hot for I bought that there computer. Now I got the second computer I actually got it at the Micro Center. I looked at the damn magazine. It was like $2,000. Like, oh my god, 64 megabytes of RAM. That's insane. Pentium 2. And then got the damn Creative Labs 12 megabyte freaking Voodoo 2, man. I was a shit because I was the only one who had a card or even knew what the fuck it was.
Even if I say even knew what it did.
I'd have to tell people it makes people look like N64 games, but better because it would have the mapping shit that would blur the texture out, so it would be pixelated. Played 800 by 600, a bazillion frames a second, but your monitor only did. Your old CRT members would do over 60. So
they get wonky though sometimes. You remember that where if you put the refresh rate too high, it would start vibrating the screen.
They get wonky, or I say I was just 800 by 600 everything, so pretty much.
I remember like there's some it's like it's like the screen would literally look like it was shaking sometimes in place. You'd be like, okay, I think I got to dial this back. Especially when you could you remember when you could download the tunable software, so you could be like, I would run it like 62 refresh rate, some crazy number, and it never worked out.
On a lot of these old, well, they're not. Well, I guess they would be old now, but a lot of these 60 hertz monitors, you could just go to your NVIDIA control panel and tell the frame rate of the monitor to be 74, and it'll actually display. Once you hit 75, it busts on the HDMI set. But you could, even then, you could tell a difference. But these days, man, the freaking 100+ frames, man. And then when you go back and play a game that's 30, you're like, what the fuck? It's like getting punched in the face. It's like rough.
I remember like back when you'd get a new video card and you would want to see like how many frames you could get out of like Quake 3. And it'd be a card that came out way after Quake 3. So it'd be like, I want to see if I can get 200 frames a second just for the shits and giggles of saying you could do it. And it would be like, something like Jedi Outcast. And it'd be running at like 200 frames a second. Of course, it would dip down to like 60 frames whenever you'd get into a fight or something. But it was just like, look at that high number, man. I can screenshot.
The number's great, even though your monitor's still locked at whatever it does.
It's locked at whatever it is. It's just like you just wanted to see that number flash up. Like, I'm going at 180 frames a second. It's like I can't even see that fast.
Yeah, when we was playing Zyel, that's what happened to Eddie. He didn't lock his frame, so he has a 960, which ain't that big these days. That's old stuff. But you know what? It's going to crank Diablo 2 like it ain't shit. Go get 600 or 800 frames on that little. He had a mini ATX. I got him a little case so he could carry it with him, because he takes it with him in a lot of places.
Yeah,
freaking it just melt that shit down, man. Crash, overheat. I do got one thing I want to talk about. Probably should have done this the first, but we'll do it the last. So how about that Saints Row, bro?
If it didn't say Saints Row, I would have never known it was Saints Row. God, it's just there was nothing. I mean, of course, there's no gameplay. I mean, maybe.
There's gameplay now. There was not in that teaser.
There was not in that teaser. And it's coming out, what, March or February? I think February?
Yeah. There's a bunch of games coming out in February. You got Elden Ring in January. That is a humongous game for a good set of people. So that's going to be the next Dark Souls. Then you got Horizon is in February. There's some other shit in February, too. There's a good chance that Cyberpunk. I'm still talking about this shit.
You get an expansion pack. You get fixed.
The low punk is going to be delayed on the new consoles, because of course it is. It looks like it's going to get delayed. And then is
anybody going to care at any point?
You know what? When they put that shit back on PS4 to buy, it went to number 1. I'm like, you goddamn fucking PS4 people must be starved.
They must be, because it wasn't fixed.
It was probably PS5 people who were like, you know what? We need something for our shiny system.
Yeah, we're tired of playing Spider-Man.
But I'm on the page, the YouTube page for Saints Row. This is the IGN video. We got 20K likes, 41,000 dislikes. They didn't read the room. And I was literally, when I was seeing this shit, seeing them talk about it, I'm like, this is the Steve Buscemi thing where he's holding the skateboard. Talking about, how you do, you fellow kids? That's
it's like, you want some Saints Row? It'd be cool, man. It just did not seem like, it didn't look like it. Well, I don't want to say that. It just did not feel like Saints Row at all. I mean, it just did not. I mean, I'm guessing it's in some type of Hispanic town. I don't know, somewhere, but it's just
southwestern.
yeah.
And they're millennials, and I think one of them is starving, can't find no food. Another one has to pay like school, the freaking college damn loan fees for like she wants to be an anthropologist, which is a fake bullshit degree. Anthropologist is a made up shit, but they want to be anthropologist, and they're like can't afford it, and so they're kind of getting frustrated. Honestly, I would say that a lot of millennials are fucking frustrated, and they could turn to crime. So maybe they've probably got something on there, but it's still like it's just like the Starbucks part timers are going to be Saints Row gang members, man.
Yeah,
One
they
of
didn't
them
seem
dressed
like
for prom still.
they did not seem like they were hardcore. Like fuck you guys. Like
Yeah.
like literally in the previous Saints Row games, they in that teaser, if it was old Saints Row, it would be like they would have been like, "Who the fuck is this guy coming in on our turf? Let's go kill his ass." That would have been that not like let's go steal some freaking high tech shit from him and then run for our damn lives. You know, it would have been totally different.
Remember when you're pulling up on Saints Row 3 and the boss says, "There's some asshole swimming in my pool," shit
yep.
like that.
And you know, I hate to say that, like, give me a GTA knockoff that is overly crude and overly not politically correct. Like, but that's really what I'd want. That's what I'd rather play because that's what was so fun about Saints Row 3 and 4 was. Wait a minute, no, 4 was shit.
Four was the Matrix kind of one where you flew around and shit.
Yeah, that made the whole game pointless because there's no point in stealing cars if you can run and jump further and fly damn near fly faster than they can. There's no point.
And they made your character so strong. You essentially could not be killed. Honestly, you'd have to try to die. You'd have to go out of your way to get killed.
I like in Saints Row 2 where you're like fairly set, like you could still fuck up and die.
You could fuck up and die, and it's like if a car was running your ass over, which was usually how you died in Grand Theft Auto, just some random car got your ass.
Yep. You just land in the wrong spot, you know.
Yep. You could go and do a mini game to be immune to car damage. There was kind of cool stuff like that. Saints Row 2 is so freaking great. I guess we'll just have to play. Me and you have to play through that shit again one day. I'm guessing it's on Xbox One. I don't know. I don't know for sure.
I know 3 is, and 3 was good. I enjoyed 3, but 2 is really the best.
Yeah. I since I don't remember it being a game that doesn't work, I'm pretty sure it does work. I don't think I've ever tried it. But yes, 2's the best. 1 I played. I think I had a burnt copy back in the day when my first 360 was like the firmware. I did the firmware hack out of the box as soon as I got the thing. But 1 was he had a pimp walk no matter what. You couldn't be a girl. You had to pimp walk no matter what. I made a little Asian dude, and he has a fucking pimp walk. And what really stood out of that, because you're comparing it to GTA 3 at the time, and the various GTA 3s, your guy controlled good, and he could shoot people, and he was strong. Because once you get a bunch of stars in like those games, you're gonna get fucked.
Yeah, shit was on.
Yeah, unless you got some cheat code shit or a tank or something, you're just going to get your ass kicked. Well, you could have max things in Saints Row, and then the FBI would show up in little helicopters, but you would still be the badass. You could just own all of them. And you had the control scheme. They basically there was a game on the original Xbox. I think it probably was on PS2. It was The Punisher. The Punisher, and it had Thomas Jane as the voice. It didn't have his likeness, but it had his voice. And that's what Volition did before Saints Row. And like the whole thing where you could get people and use them as shields, bulletproof shields, all of that shit's from the Punisher. The controls are from the Punisher. And then you just add cars on top of that and gangs, and then they had a freaking cool game, and it played way better than the rest of that shit. The Scarface game was okay, but most of those games to try to be that, they were bad.
They all felt like knockoffs of GTA.
Yeah.
And this one, like, it felt like, well, it's similar to GTA, but it's its own game.
Yeah.
Especially once 3 came out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And they honestly started dialing back shit even in 2, because you couldn't one thing, you could take your poop thing and just pour poop on everyone. I guess they got offended about that. They got offended about it. Okay. The cut scenes in 2, I don't know if you remember, they are rough.
Oh yeah.
Fucking rough. The
Dragon, what's his name behind the car?
Dragon, what's his name? Burying the little Japanese guy alive. There was also like you're in the bar, some guy like the Saints Row pop up on the news or some shit, and you're in a bar, and some guy says, "Turn that shit off," and you take a bottle and just fucking beat him in the head with it. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
And then there's that. I think in that same scene, someone chose to. It was like a hooker bar, and so there's like hookers dancing in front of you or whatever, and then people show up and try to shoot you, and you just use the hooker as a freaking shield. Yeah, it's great shit. Yeah, maybe that wouldn't fly today, but you could get something to fly, or you could just go all in and just be as raunchy as hell.
Well, that's kind of like what a lot of like Saints Row 3 was. It was more raunchy, not so much in the storyline, but like, well, you remember they were like,
and shit.
Yeah, well, they had that one. It was like the sex worker and all that. And you had to like, and it was it 2 or 3 that had the little like mini missions where you had to basically get the guy off in the car. I can't remember if that was 2 or 3.
That might be 2.
But you never like, because if you're 2 players, one of you had to drive, and the other one had to do like the mini game to like as a prostitute. I mean, it's like it would totally not fly now, but it was kind of fun just because it was so ridiculous.
It was offensive then, but that's what it actually made it work.
Oh yeah, exactly, because that's what made it not be just a knockoff of GTA.
See, had you do that today, the freaking fans would love that shit. Would just eat the shit up. But the game journalists, the damn IGNs of the world would say, "Yeah, I'm offended," and it would be like freaking bullshit on It would be like Jack Thompson type shit, and Jack Thompson was the lawyer to try to get Grand Theft Auto banned, except it would be like woke crap these days on Twitter, cancel culture. But you know what? If they had just stuck to their guns and do it, and I bet you Grand Theft Auto 6 is not going to flying fuck. They can't be canceled. They can't be nothing to do it.
No, so it's like trying to cancel South Park at this point. It's just
Trevor is way, to my opinion, way worse than anything on like 4 through the old ones, as far as I remember anyway. I never played much 4. I didn't like it, but Trevor's fucking bad. I don't know if you've ever played much 5.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's been a minute, but yeah. I remember.
Yeah. When you're introduced to Trevor, he wants to fuck some guy in the ass. I don't remember the specifics of it. That's what's good.
That's what he wanted.
Or you would switch to Trevor, and you would switch to the character, and you would switch to Trevor, and he would be some fucking where he would have been beating up homeless people in his underwear drunk or some shit like that. You're like, what the fuck? It was great shit, man. And sells 45 regillion copies. So I don't know. Saints Row didn't read the room at all. They could have been straight up Saints Row, and they would have gotten controversy, whatever. And all they done would have been sold more units, in my opinion. Like they've changed the rim jobs. The rim job place that would do custom. I think it was where you modified your car. It's now Jim. It's now Jim Robs. So they changed the first letters around, and they abbreviated freckle bitches because you said the B word. It's offensive.
Yeah. No, it's the F word. Freckle is offensive.
Yeah. So they're freaking sterilizing it. It's just corporate woke is what it is. It's the worst kind. Just super safe. And I don't know what the fuck they were thinking, man. But Agents of Mayhem suck. But they're lucky that the Deep Silver and stuff can make a bunch of them, or THQ, whoever the fuck. I guess it's Deep Silver. They're all binding together, those little mid tier companies that they can make fuck up. So it isn't the death. If they had been independent, they'd have been ruined right now because they would have went from Agents of Mayhem, which sucked, to this, and they would be done. But
the thing is like it'll come out and it'll kind of probably come out. It'll just kind of go away like a fart in the wind. It'll be one of those. It'll just be forgotten.
It's being heavily advertised. Every time you log on to Epic
Oh
Games
yes,
to get
it's
my
like
free
I
game.
saw it like there was something I was on. It might have been YouTube. They were advertising it on like crazy.
Yeah.
Like just everywhere.
Yep. Epic Games has a deal with it, which is another fuck up on their part. But that means they get their money straight up front. So honestly, once they do that, what'll happen is that Epic will end up giving that shit away for free sooner or later. You just wait, or it'll be on Game Pass because that means they're willing to sell out for the quick sub or whatever to get the cash payout from Microsoft or Epic. Is just that way you don't have to even worry about it. Your game could suck ass. I bet you that's what happened with that. It just came out recently. There was a Dungeons and Dragons game. It's like super bad. And it came out on Game Pass immediately. It's like, yep, they just
threw it out there.
you get the you make a disaster, so you could go out and you could get Microsoft to buy the disaster real fast. That way you minimize your loss. We don't have to print this freaking copies of the games that no one's going to buy anyway.
Yeah, so it's going to be a short run. It's rare. Come freaking buy. It's limited edition.
That's what happened to Devil's Third.
Yeah, I remember that. It was like, and didn't they come back? Didn't they release more copies of it later on? But right off the bat, it was like they short supplied it.
Yeah. Nintendo was supposed to publish it. It was so bad that they were supposed to bring it out in America or whatever. I think in the United States. I think it popped out in Europe first. And it was so bad that they're like they don't want to have their name associated with it. And then but Igataki was like, "It is my will that it is released."
It's like, release my shit. Gotta have it.
I had bought the fucking damn. That's why I bought the Wii U. That's literally why I bought it. Was like I gotta play this shit. Then it took years for it to come out. When it came out, it ended up being the worst damn game I had for a Wii U. I played through it for the misery factor. It's just, but hey,
you
man,
had to at that point just to say you'd done it.
Yeah.
Well, if you'd have saved it, it's like you could have sold it for $340.
There's no way. There's no way I could go without not open it. For one thing, I had the shitty 8 gigabyte Wii U, and so I would have had to buy a fucking damn big hard drive just to be able to play the shit because to get the digital one.
Well, here's the thing: it's like you could. It's like, let me go to completed. Completed's going for like two. Yeah, let's see. The disc itself is like $200.
I got the case.
Yeah, man, you got to have. You could look, man. If it's complete, one complete went for like $275. There you go, man. It's free money right there. It owes you that for being so bad.
I'll just keep sitting on it because I'm lazy as fuck.
It's like some old man on my deathbed will be like, I'll give you like $1 million for it.
I'll just leave all my shit to you in case I die early. You know what this crap's worth.
Oh, I'll die way before you, so it won't matter.
We're gonna see who dies first. It's gonna be rough, man.
It's like I've already come.
Don't leave me your shit, all right?
It's like
passed on to future generations. Don't give it to me.
Yep. You know what's funny is that's what's going to end up happening. Like you think about it, like let's just say like in 50 years, are there people going to be like, I got to clean out Grandpa's shit. He died. It's all old fucking damn video game shit. You know, by that point they'll have like their contact lens will have their phone in it or something like, you know, and it'll be, you know, what's the fucking point?
Well, you saw how I treated my dad's shit.
That's how every kid treats their dad's shit, basically. I mean, it's like one of those things. It's like
you're out of this crap. 14 open top dumpsters.
Yep. I mean, it's just one of those things. It's like I don't expect my kids to give two craps about the stuff I got. It's like it's like with my dad. It's like I remember he's like, anything you want specifically if something happens to me, and I'm like, not really. I mean, it's like I got my own stuff. If I wanted that stuff, I'd get it. You know.
Yeah.
But that's what's gonna happen though, man. It's like with the Atari generation. That's why Atari stuff is like. There's still those couple of Atari games that are because they only made a handful of them. Back when you could make an Atari game in your garage and make 10 copies of it and sell it and say it's a game. Post-it note the freaking name on it like Halloween. But I mean, it's like that generation's getting older, and they're either dying out or don't care, and that's why it's like, I mean, I tell you, every time I see an Atari at like the flea market, people have the same conversation. Oh, cool, it's Atari. You want to buy it? No.
No. It's got terrible controls. The hookup shit's a big bunch of work.
Everybody forgets that Pac-Man on Atari is not Pac-Man the arcade game until they see it, and then they're like, "Oh, wait a minute, this doesn't look anything like Pac-Man." Yeah. It's like, no, it don't. It's Atari.
Yeah. And there's a collections out there. Like I have it on PS2. I'm sure it's on other stuff, but I just have a collection of all of the Atari brand games. So it's like, okay, so we're
every console has that basically.
Yeah.
The
so
Atari classics.
Yeah. You don't have to get the damn. I think I have an Activision set too. But you don't have to get the fucking shitty ports of games that are forgettable, that are better on arcade emulation anyway. And then you just get you just play combat with your fucking, make the other person be the one helicopter, you be the three, you be a dick.
Yep. That's what you're going to play. You're going to play E.T. just to see if it's as bad as everybody says it is. You're going to play freaking Circus because it's actually fun. And you might play Yar's Revenge and Combat. And that's, I mean,
So we're about ready to close this off. But we need to get that Diablo podcast. I might go get Eddie, because having Eddie at the house and just going him on mic, and then just chaos happens in the background. just go get his ass, and we'll set this up. And I think we'll go down the order of Diablos and probably make a couple of
videos.
Yeah,
it's one of those things like
it's me and you can talk like 5,000 hours on just Diablo too. So
yeah, and it's one of those things. I was talking to somebody today because they like Diablo, and I'm like, "You gonna get the new Diablo?" And they're like, "I don't know, probably." And I'm like, "I can't go back to the economy of Diablo 2. I don't know what they're gonna do for items, but I do not have it in me to go back to like 20 years ago of like sitting and trade, making a game like Shaco for SOJ or whatever, sitting there in the trade or going and spamming in the chat. It's like, I don't know what they're going to do, but I can't do that anymore.
Yeah, and on console, they don't have those lobbies at all.
No, exactly. So it's going to be like, are they going to make it work?
I mean, it sounds like to me, damn sorceress and necromancer's going to be automatically best character. Why the fuck you going to be a barbarian? Why are you going to be a barbarian? Have to damn work real hard to get your shit.
Find your shit.
Yeah.
Good luck finding that Tyrael's Might. It was like one of the hardest items in the game to find, the blue sacred armor or whatever it was. It's like, good luck with that shit.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll have to do some type of mod to the drop rate or something, or maybe they'll make it where you can make stuff with cubes like you can in Diablo 3, where you can, like if you're trying to complete a set and you got multiple items of the same set, you could always do a couple of cube recipes to like mix it around.
There ain't nothing, although people will be offended to even mention this. There's nothing wrong with just doing another balance patch. Honest to goodness, you need to do a balance patch. Or this is not fucking Diablo 2, because Diablo 2 you can mod and you can play online LAN. So it's not Diablo 2. It's gonna be a new game, Diablo 2 Part 2. And then you know what? Why don't just rebalance the shit, and hell, they can add down microtransaction DLCs and then put another character in there. People would fucking go nuts for that kind of shit. Although you would have to go through and do a 2D version and a 3D version. That's where Activision just say, so why don't you just fucking just quietly close off the 2D version? You can't even play it no more. It's only 3D now. Buy our monk.
I mean, it's one of those things, like, it's like everybody that gets it, they'll be like, oh, cool, you can go to the 2D version, and they'll switch back to the 3D version. That'll probably be the end of that. I don't imagine. I mean, maybe there might be some people that insist on playing the 2D version, but it's like, I imagine it's going to be overwhelming toward the 3D version,
Yeah,
like,
I thought that people would, mods might force you to be. I was hoping the mods could do 3D shit, and then you would have an entirely different set of mods, because the 2D shit, making that stuff yourself would be insane.
Yeah.
So, but we ain't gonna have no mods on it, so it's like, fuck this.
I think I'm going to get it, and I think I'm going to get it for my daughter and let her play on one computer and me on the other, just for shits and giggles. And if I get like a few weeks of enjoyment out of it, I think it'd be worth it.
There you go.
But that's all I'm looking for. I'm not looking for anything game changing. I think it'd just be fun for about a month or so, just to be like, oh yeah, this is what your dad used to do when he was an idiot. Play this shit and be like, one more magic run. Next thing you know, it's 7 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, what did I do for the past 6 hours?
All right, I'm gonna stop it here.